Right? You also understand here what is RCP, remote procedure call. You understand what is INET. There's a daemon called INET. Understand, right? So all those things are going to be covered. INET daemon, you heard about that in AX. What does INET daemon do? It starts the services which are not started during the boot up, provided in that version of AX, if it is in the inet.conf file, enabled in inet.conf file. But here in Solaris 10, inet.conf file is not controlling inet daemon. So there is another facility here. So we have to talk about that facility, SMF. We have to talk about SMF, Service Management Facility. How I can start a service, how I can stop a service, right? How I can restart the service, refresh the service, right? So I have to know fMRI also, because every service has an fMRI, fault management resource identifier, fault management resource identifier, every service. In the case of Solaris 9, we were using like something like LP. LP is a service. LP start, right? Here we may not be able to say like that. Here we have to say at least part of the fMRI and say start. So we have to say SVC Adam and the fMRI start, like that. Okay? Or stop. So we have to know about SMF. What is SMF? Right? Service Management Facility. And these service management facilities create a database. Like in AX, you learn about ODM. ODM creates a database. So here SMF creates a database. That database is in ETC directory. There are directories involved in this ETC, SVC, right? var SVC, USR, lib, SVC, like that. Some directories we have to know, right, to find out, right? Don't worry about the last one, I may not remember that. var SVC, SVC, user lib, SVC, I think, right? Yeah. So we have to talk about this SMF. How can I create my own service? How can I run it? That idea also we will get from here. What is the advantage of using SMF? Before SMF, what were we using? We were using run levels, right? We were starting services using run levels. But we have to know run levels also, right? SMF may be something like upstart in the latest version of Red Hat. They replacing run level with upstart. So also run level we have to know, because in your environment you may have older versions of Solaris. I don't have to upgrade my Solaris machine. It's running fine, right? Why should I upgrade? So I'm using Solaris 9. Solaris 9 doesn't have SMF, right? So there we have to use run levels. So during the boot up, it goes to the phase called init phase. You know init. In AX you learned about init. In init phase, it selects the run level. Okay. So we'll talk about that also. Since all the data are saved in your server, your file server, your data is in your file server, right? So I like to know what type of file system I should create there, based on my purpose, right? And when I create a file system, how much frame size or how much the frame fragmenting should be, all those I have to decide. So we'll talk about those also. If suppose your file system get corrupted, how to salvage that from the backup superblock, all those we will learn, right? Then we also learn about file system types and ZFS also. We'll talk about both UFS and ZFS, the difference between UFS and ZFS. why we should use ZFS, right? It has built-in volume management, right? It has self-healing capability. It heals itself, right? And it can store in infinite size of file system, right? So many trillion zettabytes. Okay. So those features we will learn how to create spools with that, right? ZFS spools, and then how to create file systems. Okay? Nowadays, in the later versions of Solaris, the number of commands are coming down. Right? Commands comes with options. Right? So you don't have to remember so many commands. Right? How to create a ZFS file system, how to manage that. That's all, right? And if suppose you are doing something related to configuration, then there is a third command, ZFS configuration. Right? So those things we learn. And we talked about how to centralize the data. Right? Not only data you have to centralize, many other things you have to centralize. For example, I have a directory etc. In etc, we have a lot of configuration files. Can you tell me some configuration files in etc? And password, groups, then? Not that.
iNet, mail service, mail.
Related, any file related to controlling services, okay, then?
Scale for shell.
Profile.
IP tables.
Maybe something related to profiles.
Cron jobs. Cron.
Also we don't have centralized. That is for the server only, right? Which we want, like for etc host file, we want all the systems to have same etc host file. Don't you think so? etc password also, I want all the systems to have the same thing, so that I can log in from any system, right? But how can I create etc password in each computer, right? How? Then there is a big work for me. Okay, first time I can copy etc password from this computer to all the other computers, but it is not very practical. It's not very practical. So what I do is, I want to centralize all the configuration files in one place. Like I am centralizing all the data in one place. So for that we have to talk about name service. So for that we will talk about name service. That is also a very interesting subject, right? In part 2 we will talk about name service, right? In the name service, we will talk about what is NIS, what is NIS plus, DNS, and LDAP a little. Okay? Different types of name services. Using NIS, I can centralize all the etc configuration files there in one place. So if I change, I had to change only in one place. Same with NIS plus. But DNS is not for that purpose. DNS is for name resolution. If I want to go to internet, DNS. Okay? Okay? So my system can crash anytime. Right? If anything goes wrong, maybe I added a new patch, or I added a new package, or new driver, something went wrong, the system crashed. Then I like to know why system crashed. All this time it didn't crash, right? What caused that to crash? Then I have to learn about how to do the dumps. So dump facility, right? And where do I want to save my dump? I don't want to save my dump sometimes in the swap. By default it will save in the swap space. So swap space sometimes may not be enough. So I want to decide where to save. What is my dump device? What is the pattern of the file? All those I can decide. I want the file to be having the process ID in it. Or I want the file to have the user ID in it. Like that. So when a dump file is created, the name also I can change. So those things I learn in dump facility. Right? And also, like my system to perform good, the memory, sometimes the real RAM may not be enough. So I have to administer swap. So I have to know how to administer swap. The reason is when I install the machine, I had a small swap. But later I wanted to increase the swap. So how can I increase the swap? How can I know how much swap is used? How much more I need? So those things I can learn in swap administration. Right? And various things can happen in the system. Right? So I have about 5,000 machines, and I can't go and check each and every machine when there is something wrong happening. So I want all these error messages to point to a system where I am, where I am always, right? Or I want this to be distributed to some users or some other people in the office, right? So if there's error message, it should go to a file, or it go to a person, another person, or it comes to me, right? Then somebody will know, oh, there is an error. For that I have to know how to manage log facility. So if this happens, this is the action which will be taken. So there is a file called syslog.conf that will be read by syslog daemon. So it has two main columns. One is selector, other one is action. So this selector, this action. So we will learn about that. So selector has two fields, right? Facility and the level, and then we have action. So that's what we have to put it in that file. So we will learn about this. Okay. And also I have to share these file systems. Data. How can people access data? So I should know how to distribute file systems. So I will learn how to distribute file systems over the network. Okay. These are all required in a work environment, right? So that's why I'm trying to relate to the real thing which happens in a work environment to what we are going to learn. So if you know all these things, then you can perform your job as an administrator. You can apply this knowledge to any Unix flavor, right? That's how we taught you, right? But the problem is, the administrator's job is keeping on increasing. Administrator doesn't have rest time. We can't hire more and more administrator because they are expensive. So what can we do? Any solution? Administrator cannot do all this. Most of the work is done by administrator. So what can we do now? Can we create some roles? So we have to learn about creating roles. Role-based access control. We give access to restricted functions based on the role a user is suing to, right? If I am a regular user, I am going to sue as a backup guy, then I will have the power to backup. But when I exit, I lose the power. Something like that I want. So I don't have to disturb super user, right? So we have to know how to create roles. In AX also we have roles. In HP Unix we have roles, right? Yeah. When you talk about roles, there are few files. Apart from your etc password, apart from your etc shadow, etc group, there are a lot of other files called etc user attr, user attr, user underscore attr, and you have etc security and a directory security. There are some files exec attr, like that. I have just write some files. These are the files which you have to learn. User att and then etc security